Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Footy Accumulators betting show. It's a Champions League special with me, Will Perry, and my two lockdown lovers, former Bayern Munich striker Alan McInally, and our betting expert James Vickers. We would, at this stage, of course, boys, be playing the Champions League music. But, of course, as a Manchester City fan, I'd be obliged to boo all the way through that. We wouldn't hear it, despite, of course, being allowed back into the competition next season, where we'll probably win it back-to-back. Look, Al, how different does it feel playing in Europe? How special is it, at the elite level of European football after a long club season?
Yeah, this will be tough, incidentally, for the simple reason of the pause that everybody's had. Nevertheless, the likes of PSG, etc., whose season was curtailed, obviously. But I mean, I was so fortunate, at Celtic and at Bayern, where some of the European nights were just phenomenal. And I look back and I think, wow, to be involved in such games like that, semi-final against AC Milan with Van Basten and Rijkaard and Hullet, etc., and Carlo Ancelotti, because I always say to him, he's got my winner's medal because they beat us in extra time in Munich, actually, with AC Milan. But these are the evenings and games that, if you are, and it's I suppose a bit of a stupid cliche line, but to be involved in these games is absolutely phenomenal. It really is. And there's a different sound in this. Everybody, I think fans are different as well with it, just for the simple reason it's a European competition. You want to be the best in Europe.
Yeah. So, James, as it is then, 4 quarterfinalists await the winners of their round of 16 second legs to join them in Lisbon on Friday. Juventus against Lyon, Manchester City against Real Madrid, and then on Saturday. Look, Friday and Saturday night football, who would have thought in the Champions League? Barcelona, Napoli, and Bayern Munich against Chelsea. Atalanta, PSG, RB Leipzig, and Atletico Madrid already into the last 8 of the competition. Let's talk then, James. Firstly, we'll do it game by game because we're going to try and pick a treble, aren't we, out of these 4 games? And I think we're both going to write off Bayern Chelsea. Or are we, James? What do you think? Are Chelsea dead and buried, 3-0 down?
Yeah, I think so. I think if there was any doubt that Chelsea could get something, I think that was put to bed in the FA Cup final with Azpilicueta and Pulisic going off injured. Pulisic was fantastic in the FA Cup final and probably would have been the only person who I reckon could have turned that around, even as long odds as it would have been. So I think Bayern Munich definitely safe into the semi-finals, barring an absolute disaster, which I just can't see with Bayern Munich. So yeah, unfortunately, I'd like an English team to go through as well as City, who I think will go through, but I just can't see any way back for Chelsea in that one. Yeah,
Jorginho and Alonso apparently out of that game as well, and Conte and Willian doubt, so that could be interesting from a Chelsea point of view. What about then Juventus-Lyon, Al? Because you're looking at Juventus, obviously, that had a brilliant season. Ronaldo smashing goals in left, right, and centre. They've won another Serie A title, and against the Lyon team, who have only played one game, a French League Cup game, haven't they? Because they've had their season, of course, cancelled. Is that going to go against them, having not played regularly since March?
Yeah, absolutely. It will for sure. And incidentally, they're 1-0 up, of course, aren't they? Because they won 1-0 in France when they played the first leg. I mean, it just simply cannot help them. I mean, the good thing, I suppose, is that everybody should be fit, as in physically fit. But in terms of match play fit, of course, we speak about it so much, and it genuinely is a huge thing. I mean, James and I were laughing just before we came on. He said, I played an hour and a half of football at 7-a-side last night. I can't move this morning. Because, you haven't, even for an amateur football player, when you're not in and around and you're running around, training's okay, but it's never the same. And this is going to be a huge disadvantage for Lyon. They have their noses in front, but to keep Juve quiet is going to be very, very, very difficult. And it's a little unfortunate that this forced break on Lyon, when incidentally they were playing really well at the time when they turned over Juventus.
Yeah, and will they be clinging on to a little bit of hope, do you think, James? I know they'd had the title wrapped up, Juventus, but they lost a Serie A game, didn't they, at home for the first time since 2018, when they lost on the final day of the season against Roma.
Yeah, I think it'll give Lyon a little bit of hope. I think that Juventus game, I was watching bits and pieces of it as I was sort of in and out of the front room, and they did rest quite a few players, so I won't look too much into that. I think, obviously, having the league wrapped up, they've had one eye on the Champions League and didn't play sort of the majority of their star players, so to speak. So I think they'll come back well rested. Juventus, even though they've won the league this season, they've been, every time I've seen them, they've been a little bit hit and miss, which sounds daft to say considering they've won Serie A again. but they just, for whatever reason, they're just not clicking in that final third. And if Dybala or Ronaldo has an off day, they find it really difficult. So there is little bits of hope there for Lyon, but I think Juventus will probably just have too much for them, considering they've been playing for sort of the last 2 months now, week in, week out.
Yeah. What about Manchester City then, Al? 2-1 up, which is a great scoreline, isn't it, to take into a home game at the Etihad, of course, before the quarterfinals move into Lisbon, all to be played in Portugal. But City with the advantage in this one, do you think, especially given the way they've been playing in the run-in?
I go back to, I think we actually spoke about it, and I said this live on air, and I know they were playing Norwich in the last day of the season and there was nothing to play for. Man City were absolutely astounding. David Silva was phenomenal. De Bruyne is a joke. Jesus grabs the first goal. And to be fair to Norwich, they did have the ball in the net first and then obviously got trampled over by Manchester City. It could have been 7, it could have been 8, it could be 9. If City keep the ball and play the way they played, then they will give Real Madrid massive problems. And I've watched a lot of the Spanish games, funnily enough. You know, Casemiro does really well in the middle of the park. He's a real defensive shield for them, etc., etc. You know, Benzema, who's one of my favourite players, is phenomenal. They've got some wonderful young players as well. But I just, if City play like that, I'll be astonished if Real Madrid manage to beat them, genuinely. Defensively, obviously, people are still thinking that City are a problem. But I think Garcia and Laporte did really well. I know they weren't put under a lot of pressure, but they did genuinely really well. And if they can get that little partnership, if that's what he's going to pick, then honestly, I think City are a great bet at any price.
Yeah, it's a weird one though, isn't it, James? Because that game was so long ago, wasn't it, at the Bernabeu when City won 2-1. You think the momentum's kind of been taken out of that tie. Anything could happen. In the meantime, City have finished runners up, which they knew they were going to do. And then, of course, Real Madrid winning the title, winning La Liga trophy.
Yeah, Madrid, I've seen a little bit, like Alan said, of the Spanish football, and they've played really well. Barcelona ran them a little bit close, but Madrid deserve winners. I think for that City game, the key for Madrid is going to be the lack of Sergio Ramos, suspended from the first leg, and, you know, that born leader at the back for them who, you know, every time they win the Champions League, he is at the focal point of it. So I think those guys in midfield, Alan mentioned Casemiro, Valverde, if he plays as well, who I'm a massive fan of. I think he's got a really bright future. Those two in front of that back four is going to be absolutely key in terms of keeping the City midfield of either of the Silvers, De Bruyne quiet. So, yeah, I'm siding more with City on this. I think out of all the quarterfinals, it'll be the one I'm most excited to watch. I think it'll be a really entertaining game just because of how City have been a bit open at the back. And Madrid are good going forwards, but I think City will probably have a bit too much. And if Ramos was playing, I'd give Madrid more of a chance to go there and get something. But, you know, with Zidane in charge, he's been there, done it all. So I wouldn't write him off just yet, but I think City will probably nick it just of the away goals that they've got from that first leg.
Yeah.
Well, being a Man City fan, this just come to me when James was talking there. Do you think there's more pressure on City to win this game than Real Madrid?
I think so, 100%, definitely. And you know, given that Pep Guardiola, we know he's going to be there for just one more season, Al. Exactly. You know, it would be typical City, anyone who knows that football club, to have come from where they've come from the doldrums. And I'm talking people over the age of 15, 16, who aren't the Manchester United fans, essentially, who I've grown up with. You know, to be put back in that competition for next season, everything that they've been through and everything that they've got going on with UEFA and that relationship and so on, to go and win it in an empty stadium in Lisbon, that would just be typical Manchester City. But yeah, look, Real Madrid, I think that was what I said about the momentum. You know, if we played that game when we should have done 2 weeks straight after going to the Bernabeu, it probably makes it more straightforward, you know what I mean, than it is now. Whereas Real Madrid will probably be looking at this as a nothing to lose game, wouldn't they? Coming over, City think they've got it in the bag. Everyone's already been talking about City playing either Juventus or Lyon, haven't they? We haven't even mentioned getting past Real Madrid.
That's why I asked the question. I was going to say to James as well, but having been in a situation where you play with a big team and you go to another team that's not, having played well, not won the domestic league, but everybody knows in Europe that Man City and Pep Guardiola want to win the Champions League. As a Real Madrid player, you can go there and think, if we score first, this could be some night. You know, that kind of scenario. And don't worry about it. They'll be thinking that, Real Madrid, for sure. It was just something that passed my head because I'm thinking, I've just said that I'll be astonished if Man City don't win. And I think they will. but they are under a little bit of pressure to make sure they start the game well and make sure they keep the ball.
Oh, mate, 100%. And James, look, let's remember as well that it wasn't long ago I was bragging, saying, "Look, we're not going to win the Premier League, obviously, but we could still come out of this with a treble with 3 trophies." And they've dwindled, or whatever. Right, we had that one in the bag, League Cup in February. But given what had happened in the FA Cup, as Al says, I think the pressure is now on City to go and do this, because would it be seen as a successful season if they go out to Real Madrid, or they lose against Juventus or Lyon in the quarterfinals? Probably not as much.
Yeah, I think definitely the pressure more so is on City. Madrid over the last few years have won it all, haven't they? They've won the Champions League, on back-to-back occasions. City going for their first one, and yeah, pressure's definitely on City, especially with going into the second leg with that lead. So yeah, pressure on City. I think Guardiola will relish that, though. I think the City players will as well, and yeah, it will be a close game, but I just can't see Madrid go into the Etihad and scoring twice unanswered. I think City will get at least 1 or 2, especially with Ramos out. And I think City will just have a bit too much. But yeah, it should be a really good game to watch.
Of course, we touched on Bayern against Chelsea, didn't we, a few minutes ago? So the only tie left to talk about is Barcelona against Napoli, which is a really interesting one, Al, as well. 1-1 from the game in Italy. And a Barcelona team who, according to Lionel Messi, need a complete revamp in the summer and finished 5 points behind a Real Madrid team who many didn't expect to do anything this season.
No, exactly. He's taken a real swipe, Messi, hasn't he? And I suppose if he's saying that, he's obviously not particularly happy with his teammates, or actually the Barcelona themselves, by bringing players in that he thinks would be helping him to win the league or be in the Champions League. Listen, with Messi in your team, anything's possible. Napoli are a good team, by the way. This is a real tough game. This is a genuinely tough game. And of course, just to remind everybody, we finished 1-1 in Italy. I suppose, I know there's no crowds, but Barcelona's home advantage is a big thing. It genuinely is. They'll be much more comfortable in Napoli. Napoli are under more pressure in terms of they know that Barcelona will be coming at them. And this is a real tough one for me to call. I'm a kind of big fan of Napoli. Ever since I keep watching the Maradona Napoli thing when he turned everything around, I can't stop watching it because it's just unbelievable. This is a tough one. But Messi and your team, I just can't have anything apart from Barca.
Yeah, right. Okay, here we go. We're going to pick a first scorer prediction for the games between Manchester City and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich and Chelsea. So the two English teams involved. Let's start with Bayern against Chelsea, shall we? I think we're all agreed on this one. We had a little WhatsApp chat, didn't we, last night, thinking, what do you fancy? We can't look past, can we, Prince Lewandowski. I mean, the man's ridiculous. 55 goals for club and country this season. We're all agreed then on a first goal scorer. And we've got a price here with MansionBet. We've had it boosted. It was 7-4, and they're going to give us 23-10 with this one, which is a good bet. It's a good price, that, Al, isn't it?
Unbelievable. I saw a great stat the other day. It was something like he scores every 48 minutes.
Wow.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And we were laughing and joking, saying, well, at least if it's 0-0 at half time, we know we're going to score in the 48th minute, but it doesn't kind of work like that. But yeah, it's kind of round about that. 23-10 from MansionBet is unbelievable, everybody, by the way. If, of course, he scores the first goal.
Yeah, and he is an old-fashioned striker. We talked about this, didn't we, when the Bundesliga came back, a few months ago. He is not he's not one he probably could play absolutely anywhere. The guy could probably, win the Golden Glove if he went in goal. He's a freak of a man. But you can't really see him across a sort of modern-day front three. He is that traditional number 9, James.
Yeah, I absolutely love watching him. And the frightening thing for me is he's been around for absolutely ages, as long as I can remember. And he's still only 31, which, he's still got a few decent years left at the top level. And to be banging in the goals as consistently as he does. And, people who I sort of have a conversation with about, is he the best striker in the world at the moment, always go back to he's playing in the Bundesliga, but then you look what he does in the Champions League, and he does it in the Champions League, he does it in European qualifying matches and at tournaments, so he's absolutely fantastic to watch, which does pay me as someone who follows Dortmund, going from Dortmund to Bayern Munich, but yeah, I just can't look past Lewandowski scoring first, and 23-10 on MansionBet's absolutely fantastic.
So obviously we're going to pick the other one now between Manchester City and Real Madrid. Clearly Sergio Aguero's out for the season. Al, just throwing this one to you, putting you on the spot. When both of these guys retire, because they're both ridiculous human beings, who will be remembered as the greater, Lewandowski or Aguero?
That's unbelievable. I can't. Lewandowski. Who do I want in my team? Lewandowski or Aguero? That's impossible, Will. That's impossible. I'll go Lewandowski for the simple reason I think he can play with his back to goal as well as everywhere else, whereas I think Aguero is a man in the box. He doesn't do a massive amount of running well, he does, but not in terms of going into those wider areas and taking people on like Lewandowski does. So an incredibly difficult one. Both unbelievable goal scorers. I'll go Lewandowski because I think there's more to his game for the team. But then again, if you put the ball in the box, Aguero scores. It's a tough question to answer, but I'm still going to go Lewandowski.
And I tell you what, as a Manchester City fan, I'm probably speaking for every single Manchester City fan out there, we would absolutely love to have Sergio Aguero fit for this game against Real Madrid.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to knock Gabriel Jesus, but he is the second striker. We've talked about him a lot, haven't we, this season? Al, in fact, you wanted to go first goal scorer, Gabriel Jesus. You watched him against Norwich. It's not even really about him, isn't it? It's about the ball's been put on a platter to him about 3 yards out to tap them in, which even James and I could manage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I had a lovely little bet. Well, it wasn't a lovely little bet in the end because De Bruyne, the best midfield player in the world, nails one in the corner, makes it 5-0 because I did Jesus to score first and City to win 4-0. So that was a little unlucky, but he's always there and in and around Jesus. I mean, I know it's difficult to leave De Bruyne out because he takes free kicks. He's all over everything that Man City do, and he's going to be one of the favourites to score. But games like this is where De Bruyne is the man that with the key to unlock things, etc., etc. And I don't know whether Jesus might be in my radar to score first, but it's very difficult to leave out Kevin De Bruyne. But Jesus has done really well. Remember, nobody thinks that Jesus is anywhere near as good as Aguero, but his stats are still good, Will. And he does score in the last day of the season, etc., etc. And he does get the first goal for Manchester City. And he does take the pressure off the team by scoring first. So, he's got plenty of positives, Jesus, but this will be tough for him to get on the goal scoring sheet. So I'm presuming you two guys are going to say Kevin De Bruyne.
Well, look, just on Jesus, I don't think we're ever going to know with him, are we, until Aguero leaves that club, which is going to be a very sad day for City fans. But, he needs to have a run of 20 games before anyone can really judge what he's all about. I wanted to say, James, didn't I? Raheem Sterling, 34 goals for club and country this season. We bowed to your superior knowledge just because you won the NAP challenge. So you want to go KDB. KDB, 18 goals, 50 appearances. And that price, James, what do you make of this one? 13-2, boosted to 15-2 by MansionBet.
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne outside the box is absolutely deadly. I think Madrid will be looking to City on the break, so there won't be too many spaces in behind for players like Jesus and Sterling to exploit. So I think it is going to take something from, not necessarily distance, but outside the box. And, De Bruyne is probably the best in the world at just shifting it onto his right foot and just popping it wherever he wants into the back of the net. So I think De Bruyne, safe bet, take set pieces for City, depending on who's on the pitch, but you'd fancy him over a free kick. And yeah, I think for the odds that you're getting off that, I can't look past De Bruyne. I think Jesus, even though I do think he's a decent striker, obviously not on the level of Aguero, and I think Madrid will be, as tight as they can. Varane, people like that will be man marking Jesus at the back. So I think that will allow a little bit more space for De Bruyne to hopefully exploit and win us a bit of money. Yeah, and I tell you what, on the subject of winning us a bit of money, MansionBet are also boosting the first goal scorer bet as a double. We're going to have those as singles, aren't we, to cover our back? But as a double, Lewandowski and KDB to score from 19-1 to 27-1. First goal scorers, Robert Lewandowski and Kevin De Bruyne in those games between Manchester City, Real Madrid, and Bayern against Chelsea. MansionBet have also go and check out the website, check out the app, because they've got an offer on right now called First Covers Last, which means you get your stake back if you get your first goal scorer bet wrong as well. Right, fancy all of those, although I fancied every bet we've taken on this season, and we've won about 3. Okay, look, we've got to talk about outright odds. Champions League winners outright. We talked about this when the Bundesliga came back and when the Premier League season came back. Interestingly, on MansionBet, Manchester City and Bayern Munich joint favourites now. Remember, City have been favourites throughout the competition, even when Liverpool were in it. 10-3, they reckon, MansionBet for Bayern and City to win the competition.
PSG 5-1. Al, you had a bet on PSG about 16 months ago or something? You got better
ages ago. I took my beloved. We were in Nice, in south of France, and France were playing Iceland, and they were 2-0 down. And everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, what's happening here?" And they brought Mbappe on, and the whole thing just went whoosh. He'd scored 2 goals in about 10 seconds. Iceland hung on for a point, and immediately I went, "I'll have 50 quid in PSG to win the Champions League." And of course, I've been still waiting, etc., etc. And I got 8.5s at that time. So I'm obviously going to have to stick with PSG, I'm afraid.
Nice. So PSG 5-20. There is a doubt over Mbappe, isn't there, James, for that game against Atalanta?
Yeah, I think he went off on the French Cup final on the end of a sort of a really bad tackle by Adil Rami, his French teammate. Went off, in sort of visible pain and left the stadium on crutches. And I think they said that he was going to be out for that Atalanta game. I'd expect him to be back for the sort of semi-finals, but I think that first game he definitely will be out. So can Neymar carry PSG through that? Probably, I think so. Even though Atlanta are a very good side. Yeah, a little bit of a doubt, but I don't expect them to miss him too much.
By the way, I'm glad you said that, James. Sorry, Will, because when I was looking at the fixture, I was like, Atalanta, yeah, they probably should win. And I looked at the last game, and they scored 8 goals against Valencia, by the way. So not an easy fixture for PSG, but certainly if they don't have Mbappe in the team, for sure.
And on that note, some naughty little odds, I think, knocking about. We've mentioned City, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, Atletico Madrid. You can never rule them out of winning anything. 8-1, MansionBet, outright winners.
Are they?
Barcelona, 8-1. Atalanta, 9-1. RB Leipzig, 14-1. Juventus, 14-1. Real Madrid, 22s. Napoli, 1-1. Going to Barcelona. Have a guess how much Napoli are. I've got in front of me.
Well, it must be. You're going to say 28.
66-1. Outright winners with Lyon 80-1. I mean, the fact that Lyon are in the competition and you're getting 80-1. I mean, let's put 5 on all of them, and I think we'll win some money.
The only problem with that is I think Napoli need to play Bayern Munich, so that might stop them. To be fair.
Yeah, that is exactly right. That's why they're so long on that sense. Right. So, what we're thinking? Outright winners, James.
Bayern Munich, I'm going to go for. Purely for the fact that Lewandowski, unless he gets injured, I just can't see past them. City would be my second favourites. I think having Aguero out will probably just see them fall short. But I think Bayern Munich, you just can't look past them with the way they've been playing in the Bundesliga since the restart, and then they've had a few weeks off to recuperate. They've been playing a few friendlies in between then as well, so keeping up that match fitness. And the Chelsea game as well, they're so far ahead. It is basically a friendly match for them. I can't see them losing that to get a bit more match sharpness back. And yeah, I just can't see past Bayern Munich for outright winner.
Yeah, I mean, look, Al, you've already got that one on, haven't you, for PSG? So if we were to ask you again today, I know that was a while ago and you stuck that on. You're going to go with your old team, Bayern?
Well, in terms of genuinely watching a team that looks as if everybody knows what they're doing, they're compact, defend together. David Alaba at the back has been sensational. Lewandowski's brilliant. Midfield, even Serge Gnabry looks a different player for Bayern Munich, for goodness sake. He's chipping in with goals all over the place. They'd be difficult to not have in any accumulator you're having, or maybe an outright for Champions League. And 130 with MansionBet is pretty good. But I think City, Man City have got a real chance, genuine real chance. If they play, every time I see City, they're good. Listen, do me a favour and tell me something, because I don't know this. Is David Silva still playing in the Champions League games?
Yeah.
I'll go for City.
Okay. I
think he's that good. He's that good. Yeah, seriously. So if they beat Real Madrid, which I think they will, they then play Juve or Lyon, and we're saying that's a tight one. It could even be Lyon they might play, because Juve are not firing, although Ronaldo will be trying again to win the Champions League with a club he's not done it with yet. So you've got that. I think City are absolutely bang in this, and I would take 130. I might even speak to MansionBet, see if they'll give me 4s.
I think we've already pushed our luck with MansionBet, what we've got with them. Look, if there are any Chelsea fans out there who've gone a bit crackers over the last few months, you can get 250-1 for Chelsea to win outright. If you can turn that
I'll
around.
give you 500.
Boys, good to speak to you. Looking forward to the Champions League. And remember, you've got to be 18 plus to gamble. Please bet responsibly. See you next time.